And we have actually a really great panel today because we cover many stakeholders here. And I will start from Ukrainian side probably. We have here Marina Denisyuk, who is the Deputy Minister of Recovery, of Regions, of Development. We have new ministry now name, so it makes it difficult sometimes to remember. But Marina was active in the preparation of Ukraine facility, and she was really active in all other spheres, working in the government, actually. We also have, when we talk about Ukrainian side, we have Vladislav with us, who is the Deputy Minister of Vinnytsia. The Deputy Mayor of Vinnytsia. And what is really important about Vinnytsia, it's one of the oblast level cities. It's how we call in the safer territory of Ukraine, but in Ukraine we don't have safe territories at the moment because missiles come in each territory, but still it makes a bit different work life and business life in Vinnytsia. We also have Anna Yaros-Frils with us. It's Director, Ukraine Service Directorate General for Neighborhood and Enlargement Negotiations, European Commission, and Anna is oversees coordinating EU support to Ukraine recovery, including Ukraine investment framework that you've heard today a lot about it already. We also have from European Commission Philip Santain, Head of Unit for Transport Investment, again, Directorate General of Mobility and Transport, and this is about the second, basically, topic of our panel today. It's about connectivity. We have several participants who basically finance development and make some PPPs and business developments in Ukraine possible. And we have Rafal Rybatsky, who is the head of lending operation in the Eastern Neighborhood, European Investment Bank. And what is important here is that actually financing of recovery in Ukraine is possible now due to IFIs, and one of the participants is actually European Investment Bank. One of the programs is about municipal transport, which is really important for Ukraine. We have with us also Mateusz Szczurek, who is member of the management board BGK Polish Development Bank, which is also active in Ukraine's support on SME development, which is really important for Ukraine. And this is also about Ukraine facilities, the second pillar. Part of it should be going to SMEs, and this is really important. And we also have Thomas Kopechny with us, Czech government envoy for reconstruction on Ukraine. What is really important about the assistance of Czech government to Ukraine is that they are working on the regions which are frontline regions. And I hope that today we will have more insights about this. We will start our panel from Marina Denisyuk, and I would really ask Marina to talk about what Ukraine needs. We know all that, according to RDNA, which was prepared by World Bank, Ukraine really needs more than $400 billion for recovery and reconstruction. We all know that this financing is huge. So what are the ideas of the ministry, where to find this financing, how to involve private sector, and what are your requirements to IFIs and to European Commission? You can either go there or just talk from the seat.
Here? Super, because it's a better light here than in a stage. Dear guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to participate to this important conference. I'm pleased to share insights on Ukraine's approach to regional recovery and the key priorities for infrastructure and private sector engagement. Our multi-phased approach is rooted in the principle of Build Back Better by leveraging innovative funding models, enhancing legal frameworks, and supporting regions and local communities. We aim to ensure that every region in Ukraine can recover sustainably and thrive in the future. Sorry. How we support the local communities in Build Back Better. Our ministry is dedicated to helping local communities rebuild in the sustainable and resilient manner. This includes immediate priorities like winterization, where we have set up a coordination center in expedited procedures for energy access. We work together with the Ministry of Energy and the Ministry of Economy to facilitate and coordinate all support we need to deliver for preparation of the winter period. In the regional level, we really need of a lot of capacity of generation units and modular boiler houses, and we are continuing in this direction for the next period. We have launched 4 heat pumps projects focused on social infrastructure such as schools and healthcare centers, and enhance energy efficiency and reduce reliance on traditional heating. If we're talking about our resources, we mobilize all possible fundings, especially focusing on national and local budgets, donor contributions, including European Union and multilateral funds, and bilateral partnerships, private sector investments, innovative funding models like government pay PPPs and concessions. We see it is important to reform related to the finance capacity of communities' budgets on the basis of 3 macro regions formed by the impact of the war factors. I mean, changing the model of balance of the local budget revenues. We need to transform of economic model of communities in accordance with the requirements of our difficult circumstances. In this regard, I would like to mention our good cooperation, good initiative that we use deeply. It's Ukraine investment framework that serves us as a crucial tool for region recovery, supporting both immediate needs and long-term development. The IFIs have already sent their proposal for the next tranche, and for now we'll review them from the government side. And together with the European Commission, we received the feedback to all our IFIs to accept their requests. Nevertheless, our priorities still remains its housing, water supply, and heating. In this regard, I would like to emphasize one more time that it's very important for us removing any double guarantees requirements from European Union and the Ukraine government side for state and quasi-state funding using this instrument, especially for the local communities. And if we are talking about private sector is a key of reconstruction efforts they bring to our reconstruction, it's very important to use instruments that can connect our public investments and the business partners. We see it in the model of model of PPP, and we have a very good cooperation and strong track record with the EBRD and IFC independent in developing PPP projects. Notably, in 2021, we launched 2 pilot seaports concessions, which attract over 150 million in private investments. In the work circumstances, we have some delays, but we are still showcase the potential of PPPs in Ukraine. And for now, in late 2022, we signed the MOU with IFC to develop a framework for private investment in post-war recovery. This partnership helps prioritize projects across the key sectors, such as I mentioned before, it's housing, healthcare, schools, district heating, water supply, roads, waste management, and airports. All these sectors can use this model of PPPs, and we are working closely with the IFC to develop such a template of pilot projects to make reconstruction, to attract a reconstruction process more businesses, private businesses than the public sector, because we understand our volume of needs, volume of needs can't be covered by public sector only. We should maximize involvement of the business. I will stop here, and I'm ready to answer any of your questions from the participants or our colleagues from the panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Marina. And Marina, remind me that in the end we will have some the possibility to ask questions, and our participants will answer these questions, and then we will have also networking, so all questions can be answered there as well. Anna, I would like to ask you the next question. We've heard what the ministry needs, and actually we need kind of more support on local level when we talk about recovery and reconstruction. When we talk about Ukraine investment framework, we've heard already some complaints from gromadas, from local government, that they are kind of left outside of the process. But I'm sure that it's not, and I know that it's not. But probably, I mean, like we have several gromadas here, we have civil society here who communicates a lot with gromadas. Can you explore more the possibilities of local governments to participate in the framework, please?
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here and to be able to answer this question directly to many of you. So, first, the support from the EU budget to Ukraine is not only the Ukraine investment framework, even though we talk a lot about it today, it's also support directly to the Ukrainian budget. And maybe let's start there in terms of what is in there foreseen for the local self-government. As per Ukraine facility, at least 1 billion euro of the investments that the central government is obliged to pass on to the local self-government will have to reach them out of that first pillar. So we are not talking about the de-risking capacity of the Ukraine investment framework. We are talking about at least 1 billion euro of grants that the central government first needs to come up with a transparent methodology, and that will explain how this money is accessible to the local self-government and allow the local self-government to participate in proposing projects and being part of the process leading to the granting of the support and eventually the investments. That is very transparently explained as part of Ukraine plan. I think you can find the timetable in terms of how much is meant to be reported on when, if only on the Commission website. Second, very important element of the Ukraine investment framework were, as part of the strategic orientations that guide the investment decisions, the local dimension is very strong. The way we work with Ukraine investment framework, we don't work directly with companies. We don't work directly with local authorities either. We have to go through intermediary of either international financial institutions or national development banks. But among the various instruments that we are already deploying are, for example, support to the Ukrainian banks that in turn can extend credit lines to the municipalities. We have also already signed a couple of guarantee agreements with IFIs that foresee investments at a local level. I think there's really many examples. There is an example of a water infrastructure in Czernivici. There is example of lots of housing for IDPs that even with former funds, NEFCO is implementing for us. And there is more to come. So there is really work to be done between the municipalities and the banks, both the local banks. We have some representatives of IFIs on the panel, but also with the partners from the EU member states to make the best use of these funds. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I would like to pass the floor to Rafal. And actually, we talked about, and we just heard that there is an intermediary between European Commission and Gromadas. And European Investment Bank has a deep history of working already on the local level with our Gromadas. There is a program on municipal transport as well. Could you please elaborate more on this? How to be successful in working with you when we talk about Gromada and when we talk about local business?
Yes, of course. Good afternoon. So there are different models of working with municipalities. The simplest one is just go directly to a municipality. I could go to the deputy mayor of Vinnytsia, say, Deputy Mayor, let's do something together. I'm sure you've had many such discussions with different financial institutions or banks almost on every day. This is of course, very good model because we have direct contact with the borrower promoter, which is very important. However, I cannot reach out to hundreds of cities through this model. None of the IFIs can do it. We don't have this capacity. I also wouldn't be able to reach out to municipalities which are not very sophisticated financially, which maybe don't have a borrowing capacity themselves, which don't have technical assistance available to prepare projects according to our needs. So there are certain shortfalls of this approach. Now there's another approach, which is going through commercial banks. These guys have outreach, right? They have coverage. They can go and reach out to hundreds of municipalities. But of course, they also have their clients who are, again, financially robust, who are quite sophisticated and who can prepare projects themselves. So through this model, I will probably not reach out to people who need help, who are especially in need of support. So that's why we have developed at the IB, together with the European Commission, a third model, and that's something I would like to share with you, which is the following. We are using the risk coverage of the European Commission. This is a very important element because otherwise we would not be able to enroll this project at such a scale. So there is an EIB money guaranteed by the European Commission with certain degree of first loss piece. So there is a little skin of the game from EIB as well, but it's a partnership, EU and us. We provide money to the Ukrainian government, and from there the money is reallocated or redistributed to various municipalities through what we call calls for proposals. So there is a little bit of competition among different municipalities who compete to get access to this money by submitting projects. If they have problems preparing those projects, we provide technical assistance, again, which is funded by us and European Commissions together. We have an agent for this, which is UNDP, who are very skillful and have people to do it. They can help municipalities prepare projects. And those municipalities have to compete for the money. This money can come from the government towards municipalities either through grants or through on-lending mechanism. That depends on the program. But generally, you see, there is a cooperation of quite many institutions working together to bring the result. I think it's interesting. I'm not saying this is the only model that should be used. I'm not saying that this is a model that will always be used in Ukraine, but I think right now it's actually working quite effectively. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is really a great instrument of help in Ukraine. I would like to ask Philip, do you have any other in mind, especially when we talk about urban mobilization, when we talk about kind of urban development? Because we know, and we talked with you just now about Solidarity Lane, which is a really great program, but it's kind of more cross-country one. And for Ukraine, we really need more for local level as well. Can you explore here, please?
Thank you very much, and very pleased to be here. and to speak about how we can help improving connectivity both at the national and then also at the local level. Because both are important. There's no economic activity, no economic development if there's not a good connectivity to drive this economic development. This is why we often try to remind people how important it is. And you see it most of the time when transport breaks down. When the Black Sea was closed, suddenly everybody noticed how important efficient transport is. We have tried with the solidarity lanes you mentioned to address this through the landways. But of course, this required investments, which we have done, notably through the Connecting Europe facility with 1.6 billion euros, which have been put into projects improving the connectivity, but also administrative measures so that the border controls are done more efficiently, and also other measures that we have taken to improve that. This is about the connectivity at country level, and we are working there with the trans-European networks to do that in a long-term perspective as well, beyond the crisis mechanism. It is important that we bring member states together and countries together because cross-border connectivity is often forgotten at national level, but we need good planning and common planning to have a good integration of Ukraine into the internal market, of which then also, again, the local level in Ukraine will profit. For the local level, we have taken several initiatives as well to try and help them to do the building back better, as was mentioned by the Deputy Minister. We are working at European level with a model that is called the Sustainable Urban Mobility Plans. Now, when we have adopted in June this year a new TEN-T regulation, we have obliged more than 400 cities, the most important European cities, to develop these sustainable urban mobility plans because it's important that cities think about how to develop their infrastructure, how to develop their transport services in a way that improve the mobility inside the city, but also connecting the city to other cities and to other countries. Here we have now started working also with Ukrainian cities to implement that as well, and I think there can be a lot of learning shared from European EU cities towards the Ukrainian cities. Another model that we have launched is an initiative called the Climate Neutral and Smart Cities. So more than 100 cities in Europe try to become climate neutral by 2030, which is quite an endeavor, but there's a lot of learning being done right now, and again, Ukrainian cities are involved in this, and I think there's a lot of good practices that can be taken up. Another initiative, which is called Civitas, is a long-standing cooperation we have at EU level, where we bring urban nodes together to exchange precisely about better transport, better mobility inside the urban nodes. This is going on for 20 years, a lot of experience there. We are very happy that in Ukraine now there's also a Civitas network being built up, and we encourage, of course, the Ukrainian cities to take part in this and profit from these learnings. So again, we have a lot of experience, a lot of elements that we can bring to plan projects and have good projects in place, because beyond the challenge of having the necessary money to develop projects or to implement projects, we need also good projects, especially given the scarcity. So we are really happy to help and support in whatever way to get to better connectivity in Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Actually, I'm really grateful to our speakers. They are just holding the time so good. So we've just heard that we need Build Back Better, and I agree with this, but it costs money. And sometimes Build Back Better is much more expensive than to rebuild as it was. But we understand, everybody understands that Build Back Better is much better than to have what we had. But when we talk about financing, I would like to ask Mateusz about your experience, how you work as a Polish development bank in Ukraine. If somebody wants to do some PPPs at local level with the private business, do you have any programs? Can they apply for financing within actually Ukraine facility or your instruments? Do you talk with business or you talk with the gromadas, actually with local governments? How to finance? What are your experiences in Ukraine?
Okay, I mean, we've been active in Ukraine or with Ukraine very early on. And this activity has been involving both technical assistance, support through internship programs, but also financially. Our main financial focus, as you mentioned, was supporting SMEs through partner banks in Ukraine, also using EU money. And this is what we've been doing apart from normal export support and also insurance together with our partner institutions, KUKA, for example. This is something that we've been doing until now. Of course, under Pillar 2, we will be we already sort of pre-applied for with a pipeline of potential projects involving private investments, and we have companies looking to expand into Ukraine and sort of support Ukrainian firms building capacity to produce construction materials in the logistics sector and so forth. Of course, being a Polish development bank, we encourage cooperation between Poland and Ukraine, but the important element is that you have to be established in Ukraine. The capital does not matter that much. You asked about local governments and municipalities, gromadas. I mean, we did our homework. Cooperating with Kiev School of Economics, we did quite a lot of research into what can be done and how this financing can be done. And our diagnosis is that, first of all, investment needs are enormous. We all know that. In general, the sector is underinvested, and war doesn't help in this respect, to put it mildly. So municipal infrastructure is outdated. A lot needs to be done. At the same time, we see quite a lot of problems with deploying financial instruments in many of the municipalities. And these problems relate to the fact that municipal companies operate on non-market conditions. The pricing is essentially blurred together with finances of the municipalities themselves. Out of almost 1,500 local communities in Ukraine, we estimate that only 74 have experience in debt financing at all. I'm sure Vinica is one of them, but in general, it is not an easy. It's almost an unexplored element, and to rush in with debt financing in such an environment is probably not the first thing that should be done. The first thing that should be done is that a lot of technical support, cooperation, groundworks needs to be done. I mean, you need to learn to walk before you start flying, especially when you start talking about PPPs, which are complicated, more complicated still. There are examples that you mentioned. Some of them were interrupted by war. Some of them are still ongoing. And whenever it's possible, that should be pursued, given the shortage of financing in general. But equally important, or even more important in many cases, is the ability of local governments to structure products, to separate the finances of municipal companies and local governments and so forth. So in terms of Ukraine facility, BGK would gladly support and sort of leverage our expertise in working with Polish municipalities, breaking the same barriers over the years, also using peer support of Polish communities and cooperating on technical assistance before actually jumping into refinancing or financing of projects through debt instruments, probably through partner banks and guarantee instruments like we also do with SMEs.
Thank you so much. Indeed, the capacity of Ukrainian gromadas is really different, and we have some capacities that really need assistance, and they just don't have capacity to generate these projects that you're talking about. And I would like to ask Thomas about the experience of your experience of Czech government to work in Dnipro and Kharkiv regions, which are frontline regions. And in the previous session, we heard from Oshad Bank that most of banking financing is not possible there just because there is a forbidden transactions in some of the regions of Ukraine. Can you explore more on your experience, what you learned there, what you can share with other envoys on reconstruction, what you can share with all of us, how to make this kind of cooperation between different stakeholders more productive, and what are the biggest challenges that you face there?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for the question, for inviting me here. It's an honor to be in such an esteemed panel. First of all, I will just say, why do we focus on the frontline regions, and why do we, in general, focus on working with communities? Because that's the principle of our engagement with Ukraine during this phase of early or slow reconstruction. It's because we feel that it matters the most these days. It's because we feel that this is where the assistance is most needed, not only through the humanitarian part, but also through long-term development. It's where the damages are the biggest. If you look at the map, The Economist published such a map, such a graphic visualization of this a few months ago, you can see where the damages are the biggest. And that's why we focus on the frontline regions. It's very simple. And why we want to work with communities directly, because it's the easiest thing to do. The moment you decide to go there, of course, with all the risks being considered, and physically bring a delegation of industrialists, which is what we do. So I'm going to Kharkiv regularly, to Dnipro, Kryvyi Rih, many different cities and towns in those regions. It's also the feeling from the people we get that it matters, that it's not a plan that will materialize in 5 years, or, for instance, modernization of a water supply system, but it's the products, the technologies that bring the water, as we speak, to hundreds of thousands of people. And that brings me to the other part, like, what do we focus on? Of course, we are not covering everything. There are countries, there are institutions, IFIs, banks that essentially need to cover the whole map. What we do focus on are 3 basic areas. It's health, it's decentralized energy, and it's water sanitation. And it plays well with the communities we work with. And I could just echo what basically all of my predecessors have said. Yeah, one of the biggest challenges is the absorption capacity on behalf of the communities. Very little experience with debt financing, definitely. But there is some. And at the end of the day, why do we work so much with the city of Kharkiv, with the administrations of the towns and cities in Dnipropetrovщina? Because we work with those with whom not only we feel great and we share, great feelings, great moments over great Ukrainian food, but with whom we can work in a great way, whose absorption capacity, whose ability to write a project and file it somewhere is at the stage or at a level where it's useful. And it makes sense for us to go there and again with the companies. And not only we go there, of course, what we do also is trying to increase the absorption capacity or the capacity of the people to write these projects by bringing them to Czechia. So we have already brought more than 200 representatives from municipalities, NGOs, media, to their counterparts in Czechia. Because we have been going through this for the past 20 years as well. The mayors of smaller towns or even bigger cities, they were learning only since 20 years ago how to work with European funding, with IFI funding. It was a completely new thing for everyone in the country, in Czechia, 20 years ago. Nobody knew how to do that. And now they have this 2 decades of experience, and they're passing it on to their Ukrainian friends and colleagues. So that's how we approach it, so that at the end of the day, we see something concrete, so that we see a water treatment station in a concrete town, and people going there, and instead of a full main street selling only plastic bottles of water, now there are different products. So I'm sorry for those who lost business in it, but at the same time, 10,000 people in this particular town can drinking water from this water treatment station. The same goes with combined heat and power units. So we have delivered more than 1/3 of the current deliveries, of this year deliveries to Kharkiv city, come from Czechia. And not because of grant financing, honestly. It's because it's a combination of grant financing from the Czech government, from the US government, loans from EBRD running through UNOPS, loans, other types of loans running through Prozoro. But it's this capacity of the municipalities to do this. And I don't see many disadvantages. The biggest is, of course, the bankability of some of those projects. But again, when we find the right partners and then a flexibility of the mind, to look into new projects, like new technologies, the same what we have been observing for the past 2 years with energy, with the modernization of an energy system. Not just replacing the old Soviet-built era systems, but doing the new stuff. The same things are happening in other sectors, like with water. I mean, there are water pumps from the 1930s, from the 1920s, from Stalin era in many of the cities. And this needs to be modernized in a new way, not only replaced, but completely newly designed and developed. And this is why we go there directly. I mean, we have great cooperation with administration in Kiev, yes, but we don't need them for this, honestly. The shorter the link, the less is lost in translation, besides other things that get lost. So this is why we do it, because we feel that it's working, and also because we feel that this is where what everyone who wants to export something or develop something needs to realize is, who is he talking to? And you don't get this over a VTC or through a letter. You need to sit with the engineer and understand that he gets his conception of the development of the water system or energy system from his books from the 1980s. So maybe it's time to have a different perspective of things, and like step by step working on this, we realize what we do. Plus, it's great to be there. Kharkiv, of course, it's a difficult situation, but the people of Steel, they're amazing. It's so great to work with them. Not only you get the great food, but going for a cafe. Next to it is an open manga shop, for fans of Japanese culture. Next to it is a swimming pool with dolphins. The city is alive, and that's the point. And being there is how you get the feeling and what makes you come back. So that's why we do this on the sub-region level.
Thank you so much. You remind me with the point that once Ministry of Restoration or Ministry of Development Infrastructure, they have prepared a map which actually showed that there are regions where there are lots of projects, and there are regions like white areas, there is no project there. And you reminded me that actually we need kind of your experience to just share with others, but also to coordinate better, just not to have these white spots in Ukraine. Because again, we come to the point when more projects are in the Gromadas where there is a capacity. If Gromada doesn't have people or something like that, then they are white spots, but it doesn't mean that they don't need support. Sometimes they need support even more. Saying this, I would like to pass the floor to Vladislav. You've heard, all these projects that we were talking about today, European Investment Bank projects, others as well, and what European Commission does a lot. So there are lots of different projects. I know that you participate in some of them. Can you share your experience and also just reflect what you need more? Like Vinnytsia is not frontline, it's more the center, as I said, more safer territory. But again, you have some demands and some requests. Can you share this with us as well, please?
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you very much for this opportunity. And a few more figures about Vinnytsia in order to give you a wider context. We are the city in the southwest of Ukraine, 400,000 population. We have 43.5 thousand of internally displaced persons. And we have already more than 16,000 registered veterans. Means new reality is definitely visible in Vinnytsia as well. If we speak about the country context, the latest assessment of the war impact is $800 billion. With all respect to the ministry and to the central government, it is unmanageable only on a central level. And that's why the Tomasz speech resonates inside me very much. You have to act as local as possible. How to select municipality worth? Check the strategic documents. Check what is inside. Check how actual they are. We are now preparing our update of the strategy, having the wider context and the work context in mind. And of course, we have to find a way of better integration of the IDPs. We have to find a way how to convince people to stay in Vinica as a second home. Practical example. We have 3 major hospitals of municipal level in the city. Average age of the buildings is 55 years. All of them, they were built still in Soviet era with respect to the Soviet treatment plans, with respect to the Soviet tradition of medical equipment, with respect of nothing with the modern medicine. And if I see the spendings from the city budget in order to make them still alive, this is completely enough to finance a PPP project. We have to, and by the way, we have started already cooperation with the IFC to create a new centralized, integrated hospital with all respect to modern technologies, with all respect to the EU protocols of the treatment, with the capacity of 400, 500 beds approximately. And they made a pre-feasibility study. They have checked the situation in the city and they said that this is feasible. We will find together a private partner who will deliver design, build, maintenance, finance and maintenance. We will provide medical services as a city. This is our obligation. And we will pay upfront contribution while the construction, and afterwards the payment for the availability of the facility. And that's it. That's how it should work. But I strongly believe we have to act as locally as possible. Only in this case, we can speed up restoration process. Because hostages of our accuracy and our effectiveness, our kids. My daughter decided to stay in Ukraine with the hope that we will recover in a very fast way. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now I would like to open floor for the questions. Yeah, I see the hand here. Do we have a microphone in the hall somewhere? Just a second, please. It's all in the middle. Please introduce yourself, and if you have a question to a specific speaker, just say it, please.
Hello, my name is Irina Ozymuk, and I'm leading the local economic development program in Ukraine Moldova American Enterprise Fund. It was very important to really underline the role of local governance. And in this respect, I have a question which is mostly directed to Anna Jarosz, but maybe to some others. We are now finalizing a research on economic growth polls. I know that this instrument was used for post-recovery of France, still after the Second World War, but also very successfully used in Czech Republic and in Poland. Basically, it means to strengthen some municipalities that, according to some criteria like demographic, economic, and others, they can be these growth poles. They can strengthen the smaller ones around, and then they can also ensure this multiplier effect for money that are being invested or allocated to these communities. You mentioned the Ukraine facility and this 1 billion. So the question is, maybe it's interesting or important to look at this approach, of economic growth poles, that not only one cities receive the support, but some cities, like small agglomerations, and then it will really help them to grow, and then for you to spend less money as they will help each other. Are you considering this, or are you suggesting this to the Ukrainian government that, as you mentioned, should develop the transparent mechanism of allocating money? Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question and for bringing up the complexity of discovering growth drivers. So let me answer the following way. In our discussions with the Ukrainian government as part of development of Ukraine plan, that is now the basis for the support under Pillar 1, so the basis for the support that we give to the Ukrainian budget in exchange for reforms and investments, including the 1 billion, at least 1 billion for the local government, and also drives the sectors and levels of the investments under Pillar 2. That is a growth plan for Ukraine. So that you have in their identification of the sectors of the economy that the Ukrainian government considers as the most ready to generate growth. So it's more sectoral than spatial. In the requirements that are put forward by the regulation that is the basis for the support for the Ukraine Facility Regulation, we don't take a view on the growth poles. What we take a view on is the transparency of the allocation of funds and the involvement of the local government in it. So I think that is, in terms of how it will play out in the future, I think it's an open question. I think these are the choices that are very difficult choices and very difficult discussions that are the Ukrainians to have. That is certainly one of the elements that is interesting to look at when reflecting on what will drive growth of Ukraine going forward, also as part of the support beyond the 4 years, because the Ukraine plan and the money that we talk about is essentially a plan for 4 years, and then we will have to look at things again. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone want to add something? No? Okay. Do we have more questions, please? Yep, please. Here the question is.
Oksana Kisil, Covenant of Mayors in Ukraine. We are working with municipalities in the field of mitigation and adaptation climate change. I have a question to Philippe. Do you ready to cooperate with Vinnytsia in the field of mobility and transport planning? Because just now it's the best city and advanced city in Ukraine within mobility planning. And I think we need the best cases in Ukraine or within mobility that to copy after our victory. And the next question to EIB Bank. Do you plan any finance program for Ukrainian municipalities in the field of transport, and especially in district heating system? Because just now it's really too important to save district heating system, because how we could talk about climate neutrality till 2050 without district heating system in Ukraine? Thanks a lot.
Philip first and then yes.
Oksana, thank you for the flowers.
Thank you for the question. Very happy, of course, to work together. The thing, however, is, and that's the principle of the European Union, it's called subsidiarity. And of course, we are not best placed to tell local governments how to do things, because we are not a local government. And I fully agree with the statements that were made earlier. But for sure, what we can do is bring it together with other cities who have done the experience as well, who have been now or who are leading in that field, and to make sure that you get these best practices and can copy paste rather than reinventing. So this is the kind of support we certainly can provide, and happy to do so.
We have several programs targeting municipalities and support of their transport systems in terms of rolling stock, but also infrastructure. So please, we can discuss this, but there are instruments available. For district heating, we are now also developing a new program which will address the most urgent needs of municipalities given the recent energy crisis.
Thank you so much. Just from my side, I would say that for European Investment Bank and for other IFIs projects for municipal level, it will be really great if you could disburse more funds in hryvnia, not in foreign currency, because sometimes what we hear from local governments that it's really expensive for them to have loans in euro or dollar just because of currency risks. And there is a question here.
Thank you very much. Tetiana Korotka, Deputy Business Ombudsman of Ukraine. I would like to ask the Deputy Mayor of Vinnytsia. You mentioned, well, quite an interesting PPP projects related to healthcare. And I'm sure that private businesses is interesting. How are you going, or how is the AFC with their experts and your expert is thinking about different type of financial model and return of investment based on which sources? Because it's clear that it could be built, operate, transferred normal projects. Yes, it sounds quite feasible, but you know, taking into account that the public hospitals mostly based on the public financing from the local budget, yeah, it's not clear for me at least, yeah, that how we are going to build these projects. Thank you very much.
So if we speak about this particular project, first of all, medical services provided in the hospital, they have to be financed by the National Healthcare Service. The more equipment, the more modern equipment we have, the wider package we can obtain from the National Healthcare Service. If you go in details with the local budgets, you can see a lot of OPEX and CAPEX every year in order to keep these old hospitals running. And we are the hostage of this condition. They are, in majority of the cases, not energy efficient buildings. We are losing money on OPEX. And that's why we see a potential to concentrate all those spendings and finance the private partner who will invest together with the donors, together with the grant support. How the precise financial combination will be created, this is the task of the IFC. And that's why we are signing the contract with them, and they will support us from the very beginning till the implementation, because they have experience, they have competence, and we will learn from them. And I see not only healthcare a base for the good PPP partnership in future. Just to give you one more figure in order to give you a feeling. The whole budget of Vinnytsia is $142 million. The price of this project, according to estimation of IFC, is 92 million. So this is it. Without support of IFC, we will never make it.
Yes, please, Thomas.
In our experience concerning healthcare, we're working with 15 different hospitals across Ukraine, from Kharkiv to Lviv. And basically, only the ones that are not run by ministerial authorities, but by regional administrations or city administrations, are prone to take loans as part of the total financing for the projects we're doing. So partially grant, partial loan. But we don't have a successful case so far with loan financing for centrally controlled, centrally run hospital. But all the hospitals we're working in on the regional level are working fine for this.
Thank you. And actually, one more question, and just to reflect this. Usually PPPs are for earning money, yes. I mean, like IFC would expect for return of investments, but in Ukraine we have to change lots of legislation to it happen, especially in healthcare, especially in district heating when tariffs are not set at the cost coverage level, and therefore, but it's another topic for discussion, like really big one. And there is one more question here, and we will, this will be the final question we are asking today.
Thank you. My name is Andrei, company Signify, formerly known as Philips Lighting. And my question is addressed, I don't know, maybe to many of you. A lot of talks are about energy generating, about modernization and recovery of grids and power plants, etc. But coming to the real effect where we can gain from economy is our area is lighting. So despite to generate new energy, we can save it. And it's much more safer because you cannot attack with missile, and one missile is a power plant station, lighting which you have in hospitals, in schools, in kindergartens, shelters, etc. We were as a part of big program of LEDification with European Commission in 2022, 2023, when we distributed LED bulbs among citizens, but now we are working and trying to make the feasibility study. And
I'm really sorry, we have short of time, please.
Okay.
Just ask really
just
short.
Very short. We are trying to convince that the idea to change the lighting in, for example, hospitals can bring huge amount of energy, which can decrease the blackouts quantity, or even sometimes we can sell this energy abroad. So in my case, I see the big potential and big need from each the municipality. So how to address, how to approach it, because usually they have the needs, but they don't have the money. So by the way, we help to Vinica, to Військовий hospital. We have a lot of contacts with different municipalities. They struggle to find the
Thank you
money
for
for
the
this.
question. I'm really sorry for interrupting. Who is taking the question? Yes, please.
Let me just say that street lighting in general is one of the easiest subjects to use a PPP structure for. And it can be done off balance sheet. And indeed, this is one area that if I were to pick the first PPP project, it would probably be that, because it's essentially you can make it financed through savings, and that's and also using Eurostat methodology, it can be put on off balance sheet on municipal books, so that's very useful.
I fully agree. We started projects together with the NEFCO to change the street lighting into LED, into saving one, in 2018.
I would like to emphasize as well that the energy efficiency measures and any energy efficiency measures super important for us, because it's a part of our demand management, and of course it can be the one of the task we should do, but it's not help us in our situation right now with the limit of generation capacity. Even we just implement all projects with lighting. But another question I would like to emphasize, when you go local and work with the local government, they have enough capacity to implement the projects. It's important to use national instruments like single project pipeline, where you should upload the, like a regional authority, you should upload the project there to show all our other regions the possibility to implement such a project, and it's a possibility to scale up any project of the region that have enough capacities, and to show the government level where we should definitely can help another regions to implement such projects. Because one project of a pilot project with IFC, it's not enough for country to be successful in this direction. That is why be our, not a pilot, but be our first and important region that can help another regions and show us our cohesion policy inside the country. It's so important for the government level to have such a communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that we had a really great panel. In order to finalize, we really appreciate all the support we are provided by European Union and other countries to keep us resilient, to provide us financing for investments, which is really needed now, and for also providing us defense support. Because without defense support, without air defense systems, we will not actually survive, and we will not talk about investments at the moment, and we really need more of those as well. And just final point, I forgot to introduce myself at the beginning. So my name is Alexandra Betli, and I represent here Institute for Economic Research and Policy Consulting. This is a think tank, and that's what I wanted also to say, that in Ukraine, civil society is really strong, and I really appreciate when all partners are working with us. We have many strong organizations, so meet us in Kyiv. And thank you everybody for participation and for questions. Thank you.